Did you know there's a hidden law of physics you can uncover right now with just a book? It's pretty amazing, and what it shows us might just change how you see, well, pretty much everything.
You know, it's one of those things you might have stumbled upon by accident. It's this little piece of cosmic weirdness, just hiding in plain sight. So you're ready for this? Go ahead and grab a book, or your phone will work too. Okay, so what's so cool about this is that there are 3 ways you can spin it. Let's try the first one. Spin it around its longest axis, like a rolling pin. See that? It's perfectly stable. Easy. Now, try the shortest axis, kind of like a wheel. Again, totally stable, no problem. But here comes the weird part. The third spin. Try to get it rotating around its middle axis. Just watch. It just refuses to spin cleanly, right? It immediately starts to wobble, and then it just chaotically flips over on itself. Wild.
And nope, this isn't some kind of trick. It's a real, fundamental law of physics. It's called the Intermediate Axis Theorem, and what it says is that an object just can't maintain a stable spin around that middle axis. It's physically forced to flip.
So what's really going on with that flip? What is it doing? That little wobble, that moment of complete chaos, it's not just random noise. It's actually a deep pattern. And it gives us this incredibly powerful way to think about, how particles are born, how we make decisions, and maybe even how the entire universe builds itself.
All right, let's really break down that flip. Because inside that one single moment of instability, there are 2 really distinct, really profound things happening at the exact same time. Okay, so first, you've got what we can call the which way moment. The book literally makes a choice. It has to decide which of those 2 stable spins it's going to flip into. Something definite, something real emerges out of all that chaos. But then there's the second thing, the that it happened moment. The flip itself actually radiates energy. It sends a signal out into the world that says, hey, a choice was just made here.
And this which way moment, this decision point, it actually has a proper scientific name. It's called bifurcation. It's that exact point when a system that's all over the place suddenly collapses into one single definite state. This is literally the birth of an outcome.
Okay, and here is where we can build a really powerful idea, a metaphor to help us understand this. Think of that bifurcation, the choice, as creating a particle, something that is now real, defined, solid. And then think of the energy that radiates out from it as light, the information, the witness, the proof that the choice was made. So you have a particle and you have light. Remember those 2. They're going to be important.
All right, so now let's take this pattern, this flip, and see how it plays out not just in physics, but inside of you. Just think for a second about the last time you had to make a really, really hard choice. So before you decide, you're in that state of indecision, right? You are the wobbling book. You're stuck on that unstable middle axis. Then you finally make the decision. That's the bifurcation. You collapse into a definite state. You become a particle that's now defined by the choice you made. And finally, that choice, it doesn't just stay inside you. It radiates outward. It becomes an example, an action, a consequence for others to see. That is the light you emit.
So the big takeaway here is pretty amazing. Every single meaningful choice you make creates both a particle and a light. It defines who you are in that moment, and at the same time, it sends a signal out that changes the world around you.
Now, what's really fascinating is when you start to see this pattern pop up in foundational stories. The source material for today's explainer points out how 3 major figures in the Quran can be seen as these powerful archetypes of this exact same process, this dynamic of instability and choice.
So this chart here kind of lays out 3 completely different ways to relate to this flip. First up, you've got Iblīs, or Satan. He represents the total refusal to flip, just becoming rigid in his own pride. Then there's Bilqis, the Queen of Sheba. She's smart, but she's uncertain, until this shock to her system forces her to flip into a new state of submission. And then finally, you have Yunus, or Jonah, who basically embodies the perfect flip, going from total chaos.
The story of Iblīs is all about the refusal to even wobble. When he's commanded to bow, his response is just pure, rigid certainty. I am better than him. He locks himself onto that one axis of pride and absolutely refuses to even consider another state. He becomes this fixed, unchanging particle, and because of that, he's totally incapable of emitting the light of change.
Now, in total contrast to that rigidity, you've got the story of Yunus. He's in the belly of the whale, trapped in 3 layers of darkness. That's a state of ultimate chaos, right? He's tumbling through every possible axis at once. And it's from that point, from total instability, that he makes the perfect choice: complete and total surrender. That is the ultimate bifurcation. And man, the light from that one flip has been radiating out for thousands of years.
Okay, so let's recap. We've gone from a simple book to a person making a choice to these grand archetypes. So now let's zoom out one more time to the entire world. What happens if everything enters a state of wobble? What kind of machine could possibly navigate that kind of chaos?
Well, the story of the Great Flood is a perfect picture of this. It represents the ultimate instability. There's no ground, no horizon, no stable point of reference. The entire world is basically like that book, spinning on its middle axis, just tumbling chaotically.
And right into the middle of this chaos comes the Ark. Now think about this. It's not a battleship built to fight the waves. It's a vessel designed to ride them. And it's built from two totally opposite principles. You've got wood, which comes from living trees, and that represents the light, flexible axis, the axis of life and surrender. And then you have iron, forged in fire, which represents the strong, stable, major axis of structure and command.
It's interesting. The source material here points out that the Quran actually describes iron as being sent down. This highlights its celestial origin, right? It's like it's a material that carries a memory of a higher, more stable order, and it's brought to Earth specifically to provide structure when everything else is chaos.
So, by combining these two stable poles, life and structure, wood and iron, the Ark becomes something new. We can call it a buffer. It's this portable zone of stability. It's a self-contained system that can literally float on the wobble without getting torn apart by it. It's the one place where choice is still possible.
And this, right here, brings us to the ultimate secret of the Ark. The whole point isn't about desperately clinging to one stable axis and just trying to avoid chaos at all costs. No, it's about building a vessel, whether that's within yourself or in your family or your community, that can hold and balance these opposing principles. That's what allows you to actually navigate the inevitable wobbles of life. And all of this leads us to one final, really provocative question. What if this isn't just a clever metaphor? What if this whole pattern that we first saw in a simple spinning book, a moment of instability, a choice, and then the birth of a particle and a light, what if that is the fundamental process by which our entire universe actually builds itself, one single flip at a time?
Think about it. From the smallest decision you make to the grandest cosmic event, maybe reality isn't a static thing at all, but a constant process of becoming. Just an endless series of these flips where potential becomes actual, all of it witnessed by the light it creates. Maybe we aren't just moving through the universe. Maybe we are the very points where the universe makes its choices.